welcome to the Dysautonomia International Wellness class with Dan Paladino. Dan has a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Physiology and Sports. He graduated from Frostburg, was a lacrosse player, correct?
Yep, yeah, I
Played
played 4
lacrosse.
years.
Excellent. I love lacrosse. I live in Maryland. It's huge here. My son plays it. He has a mission to guide and help facilitate healthy, long-term, sustainable habits. And he believes that you building skills and crucial behaviors and staying consistent will help his clients learn and execute any type of good habit and help them understand how to consciously choose healthier behaviors that meet your needs. We're very excited that Dan has chosen or has agreed to volunteer his time and services to the dysautonomia patient community. He is certified as a strength and conditioning specialist, and he is certified as a functional movement system specialist, precision nutrition certified as well. So welcome, Dan. We're excited to have you with us today, and I am pleased. You're welcome. I'm pleased to also introduce Wendy Berukowitz, who has been associated with Dysautonomia International since the very beginning. She's an invaluable resource to all of us and is just a wonderful, wonderful person that I am so pleased to introduce you. Welcome, Wendy. Quick overview. Wendy is going to be performing the exercises as Dan talks everyone through them. So I am going to let Wendy talk for a minute, and then I'll go through a couple logistics.
Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. So I don't know, I might know some of you might know me. I certainly know a lot of the names that I'm seeing, either from social media or meeting you in person. So I was diagnosed with POTS 9 years ago and have been on an exercise journey ever since then. And Dan has been so instrumental in helping me with strength and conditioning, and helping me get myself back to from a deconditioned state to a conditioned state, so that daily life isn't so difficult for me. So he has over the years become working with me and other POTS people. He's become almost an expert and really understands the pace and when to hold back, when to push. And that's really important here as we're going to do this today, is that you know your body best. Go at your own pace. If you need to rest in between intervals, just rest. All the exercises are going to be on the floor, either laying on your back with our legs up. Everything is, Dan's also going to show some modifications. So if you feel like you could do a little more, we could make it a little bit more difficult. Right now, he's just going to show more of the baseline. And then in the next series, he'll then show like a modification if you want to make it a little more challenging. And I'm going to show those to you as Dan talks through. So thanks everybody for joining. It's so good to have all of you here. So great. Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Oh, Dan, real quick, one thing I want to jump in. If anyone, the person that you should spotlight your video on would be Wendy. And if you don't know how to do that, every system's a little bit different. But if you hover over Wendy's picture, you'll see the mute button and 3 little dots. Click on those 3 dots and you should be able to choose Wendy as the spotlight video. And what that means is no matter who's talking between Dan and Wendy, Wendy will be primarily on your screen. So hopefully you're able to figure that out. If you have any questions, go ahead and send me a question in the chat room and I'll try and help you out.
And if there are any questions, please leave them in the chat, and then we're going to have some Q&A at the end. But any questions that you have, just type them in the chat, and Kristen's going to, all of us are going to kind of go through them at the end, if that works for everybody. Yeah? Are we ready to go? Everyone, you need to have your fluid with you, right? Okay. Ready when you are, Dan.
All right, so the first thing I want to start with is diaphragmatic breathing. So we're going to rest into our mat here. We're going to go onto our back, laying down on the floor. We're going to open our hands. We're going to put one hand on our chest, one hand on our belly. We're going to work on diaphragmatic breathing. So just letting the bottom hand rise. So we're going to do that for about 2 to 3 seconds. A nice, slow, controlled exhale. And as we're exhaling, we should breathe through the mouth. So try and imagine yourself breathing through a straw. It should be nice, slow, controlled. You should just hear yourself breathe and activate all the muscles of the core here. So we're going to do about 5 reps. So just letting that bottom hand rise, not letting your chest rise. And as we do about 5 reps of just that bottom belly breath, we're going to start to incorporate the chest. So we'll do 2 seconds through the belly, 2 seconds through the chest, about a nice 8-second exhale. So as you're breathing, you want to do this too fast, just nice, slow, controlled. We're just trying to activate all the breathing muscles of the core here. Breathing a lot of times is the one thing that you could influence to kick in your rest and digest system, the parasympathetic nervous system. So doing this as you're overstressed or anxious or trying to go to bed and are uneasy, this is a good way to influence that shift. And all right, so we're going to go through a few different stretches today. We're going to take you through 3 different stretches, and then we're going to go through three different series of exercises. So the first stretch is going to be a hamstring stretch. So if we have a resistance band, we could do a hamstring band pull, or if not, we're going to do a toe touch variation for this one. So you could use any sort of resistance band, and you're going to hook that around your midfoot like Wendy's doing here. We'll lie back onto our back again. So with all our stretches, we're just going to do 30 seconds today. But for each one, you could do about 8 to 12 reps with a 3-second hold in that top position. So we're just going to be dynamic, holding that top position for a couple seconds, exhaling as we go into it, inhaling on the way down. And if we don't have this band here, so we could do some sort of toe touch variation. Wendy, if you want to demonstrate this one too. So let's just do legs fully extended. Let's sit up onto our torso a little bit. We'll just do a toe touch variation from torso upward. Just fully extend your legs for me, Wendy. Both legs, sorry. And then pick your torso up. We're just gonna do a normal toe touch breach. Just reach towards the feet. So if you guys don't have a resistance band, we could do this. And we could just do the same tempo here, just holding for 2 to 3 seconds. And once we get about 10 reps, we're gonna go into the next movement here.
Next leg down.
Yeah, let's switch it. Great, so we're exhaling through our mouth as we go up, inhaling through the nose as we relax. Just letting our breathing facilitate our movement, going with the tempo of our breath. Okay, great. All right, so next one I want to do is going to be called a half kneeling hip flexor stretch. So we're going to go onto one knee. Both our legs are going to be at 90-90, so 90 degrees. Just like Wendy is demonstrating here. So you can see that our knees are both at 90 degrees. We're on that single knee position, and we're going to work on tucking our pelvis underneath us. So I want you to hinge at the hips towards our heels. We're going to drive the hip forward, tucking our tailbone underneath us, and you're going to feel that stretch in the front of your hip flexor. Awesome. Side view will help. So you can see that she's not really leaning into this. She's just working on the hip action of rolling her pelvis underneath her. And you will feel this right in the front of the hip. So we'll do this for 30 seconds, about 8 to 12 reps each side, and hold that position for 2 to 3 seconds. Okay, great. Should be good for swapping. So once you get about 8 to 10 reps, we can swap legs. So this is a good stretch to counteract the sitting posture. A lot of times, all these muscles of the hip will shorten. You might feel a big stretch without even having to lean into this one. So this is a good one to accommodate sitting down too much, and just a good posture one. Okay, okay. So we're gonna hop out of this one now. We're gonna go to a thoracic rotation one. So we were working on that one where we were rotating Wendy. So we were on the double knee position, just opening up.
Hi,
So we're gonna go.
Sorry, Dan, it's Kirsten. Someone has a note, bad knees, can't handle that pose. Alternatives?
So with that one, we could do an alternative as, let's put one hand, we would do this one standing. We could do a quad pull standing.
Which
I'll
one?
demonstrate.
The one we just did?
Yeah, to substitute that, so you would put one hand on the wall, and then you're pulling your foot. This could be alternate.
The other thing too, people, if you have trouble standing, you can get, oh, it's your knees. So I was gonna say this, but if this hurts the knees too much. The other thing too, Dan, I don't know if this one would work if someone has bad knees too, to kind of just stretch out in there. I don't know. But we can circle back on that one on the end.
Yeah, so you could do a quad pull on leaning against the wall. That would be a good one. If you have a lot of times you have to put like a foam pad underneath your knee. So if you have some sort of pillow, that should help a little bit. But yeah, quad pull against the wall would work. So Wendy, you remember the next one we were doing that thoracic rotation? You had the setup.
What's up, Thor?
We were going to do that other one that you were just saying, actually.
Oh, okay.
Cool. So we're going to go onto our butt here. We're going to hike up one leg over our opposite knee, and we're going to twist. This is going to be a thoracic rotation one. So just hold that position for 3 to 5 seconds. Come back to your center a little bit, and we'll go back to it. Okay, we could do about 5 to 6 reps each side on this one. So as you're doing these stretches, just go to about a 6 out of 10 on the RPE scale. So don't push it too much. And
Don't forget to breathe. Because oftentimes Dan's always telling me breathe.
absolutely.
I hold my breath and I don't realize it.
Cool. So those are going to be our stretches that we're going to start with for this session. So you could do those each day as you get into doing these movements, and it'll just prepare you. It'll help open up areas that are commonly restricted for people. So it should help just get into the flow of things. So the first exercise we want to do today is going to be a double leg glute bridge. We're going to elevate the feet for this today. So if you have a chair, a bench, an ottoman, some sort of elevated surface, a step, it doesn't have to be this inclined, but just something off the floor. It'll allow you to get a little bit more extension and invert as well. So we're just going to work on a double leg glute bridge in this position. So when you're setting this up, our feet are going to be about hip width apart. Hands are going to be by our sides with the palms up, just relaxed. And we're going to exhale as we go into this position. So we're going to brace the core and punch the hips up. We're going to hold that position for a good 1 second and just don't let the hip drop. So with this, as you're doing this position, make sure the breathing is going with your movement. So every single time as you're exerting into positions, you're going to exhale. So brace your core as you're going to that top position, like someone's going to punch you in the stomach. It's going to stop you from overextending. And while you're up there, bracing the hips just as much. So hips are coming all the way to the floor in between, just relaxing. Take a few breaths in between if you need. And for this, we'll go for about 8 to 12 reps, depending on how you're feeling. So a lot of these rep ranges are going to be up to you guys. Just start with what you're comfortable with. And as you do do these exercises a few different times, you could slowly start to just progress it based on how your body's feeling. So we'll do about 2 more, Wendy, and then.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to pair that with a floor press. So we have our soup cans for this one. If you guys have dumbbells, feel free to use that. If not, we could use water bottles, make fists, but we're going to work on a floor press. So this is like a bench press, but with dumbbells, and we're just going to be on the floor. So without the bench here. So we're going to go onto our back with our feet planted.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to ask anybody in the chat, does anyone feel like we're going too fast?
Yes, sir.
Good.
I don't see anyone they're not raising their hands. They're not posting that we're going too fast. So thank you for stopping and asking that.
Okay. Yep.
All right, so we're going to work on a floor press now. So we have our soup cans. I want you to
Weights or soup cans.
So as we get set into this position, we'll plant the feet. They're at 90-90 again. We're going to work on packing our shoulders like Wendy just did. So you're going to squeeze the grips of the soup cans, pull your shoulder towards your pockets. It's going to engage your lat muscles a little bit. And we're just going to work on hinging the elbow towards the floor, doing this floor press motion. So with this, we're inhaling on the way down, exhaling as we press. Just going with our breathing here. Don't feel like you have to keep your elbows glued to the side. Don't flare them out too much, just in between. She has the soup cans at 45 degrees. Just keeps your shoulders in a better position. And you notice how she's not shrugging up towards your neck. That's what I mean by keeping your shoulders packed. So just not shrugging up towards the neck. Awesome. So once we get about 10 to 12 reps here, we'll do a few more, Wendy. Great. All right, so that's going to be our first series. So we're going to do another set of those, and then we'll talk through a few different modifications from that position, just a few different body positions or tempo change ups that you can do while you're in that to make it a little bit harder if you need. So we're getting set up again. Feet are hip width apart, feet elevated for this one. I'm gonna work on double leg glute bridge.
I'm going to show the single modification one, Dan, too.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
So So to make this a little bit harder, we could elevate 1 foot. This will be a pretty challenging one. So this would be something that you would build up into. So you could work on a single leg glute bridge. Awesome. So this is our double, just so the single. So make sure as you're doing these, really bracing your core, exhaling with each rep. So the lower back, I just keep it neutral as possible. Try not to overextend. So with the exhale, I really want you to brace your core, and that's going to prevent you from overextending. So you could kind of overextend if you want to show one like that, Wendy, where you don't really brace the core too much. And
sorry, Dan, it's Kirsten. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 questions. What's the angle in your lower back while up? And what is your neck and shoulder position?
So the neck should just be tucked.
There you go, Wendy.
Just keep the neck tucked. If you have a pillow, you could rest it on a pillow here. And then the lower back, to just don't hyperextend. So I want you to remain flat. If you're in that bottom position, Wendy, remember how we would engage? Remember how it would work on this position where we engage lower back?
Yeah, the tilt.
Can you do a few reps? Can you do like 1 rep like that? So if you want to, just start it in the bottom position though.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if you tuck your pelvis like that, you can engage. You'll get a neutral spine like that. Just instead of exactly. So before you get set, just make sure you have this position that Wendy's showing right here.
Not this. This.
Exactly. So just a neutral pelvis, a neutral spine. And as you go to that top position, really brace the core, and that's going to prevent you from hyperextending or.
You should feel it all in here and all in the back.
The double leg glute bridge should be a good stimulus. This is going to be a good one that you can invert on. You could put a mini band on your knees. You could do a few different modifications for this one. So. Okay, cool. Wendy, if you want to show maybe a few just on the floor. So let's just do a normal double leg glute bridge, and then let's show them a glute bridge march. So this would just be if you didn't have the feet elevated, if you didn't have an object, or this would be kind of a little bit of a regression. So just working on that anterior pelvic tuck and then maintaining that and bracing that top position. See how she sets up for each rep. Awesome. Okay, let's do that bridge march. So for this one, we're double leg glute bridging up. Just double leg bridge for me, Wendy, sorry. Okay, so we're marching one knee towards the, exactly, marching the other leg, and then we're back down in between. Okay, resting between. So this is gonna be a bridge march. Double leg glute bridge up, single leg march towards the chest. Keep the toes pulled up towards the shin, marching, keeping the height in the hips, and then back to in between. So that's 1 rep right there. This is another alternative you could do. This would be a little bit more difficult than, just kind of a different demand on the body. You got to maintain the stability, try and fight for your hips, and just not let them drop here. Make sure as you're in this top position, you're exhaling the whole time, really bracing the core, fighting for your stability. So those are a few different hip extension ones you could start with. Those would be a good stimulus for hamstrings, glutes, core, quads a little bit. Exactly, cool.
We had to order them in terms of like difficulty. The one on the floor, just with glute bridge up, that's the easiest one. The second one is our legs up, double leg up. And then the third one was the one I just showed you, the march. Anything single leg is going to be more challenging.
Awesome.
Great.
Cool. So should we go through another floor press or?
We started a few minutes late, so if you want to do another one, we are at the 30-minute mark from our start time. But again, I didn't really start the clock when you started the exercise. Sorry, but just to remind everyone to go ahead and post their questions for us, so that when Dan is done with this this last exercise, he's able to answer your questions.
So Chris, would it be helpful if we just do one set of each one?
Yes.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds great.
Okay.
So that was the floor press. There's not too many modifications for that. You could just continue to load it up and change your tempo. So we're going to move on to the series 2. So we're going to do 2 new movements. We're going to work on the bird dog. So we're going to go into all fours position here. We're going to work on just the kickback here. So we're going to put our hands under our shoulders, knees under our hips, at hip width apart.
Want to be nice and flat.
Exactly. Yeah, so let's talk through that.
More extended.
So working on finding a neutral spine, this will kind of be like that question. Just keep your back nice and flat so you could round, feel the opposites, find that position, and work on just a leg kickback. So imagine yourself sticking your footprint towards the wall behind you. Don't overextend in that top position. We're just going to get parallel to the floor and pause for 1 to 3 seconds, depending on how you feel.
And to modify this, Dan, since we're going to do one set, I'll show them the modification to make it a little more challenging. If you feel you want to go a little more challenging, it would be a kickback with the arm and hold it. So it's opposite arm, opposite leg.
Dan, we have someone who, when they do this exercise, their knees are popping loudly and uncomfortable. Is that bad? Any modifications?
If you have pain with a click, I wouldn't suggest going through it. But if you're just kind of clicking as you move through these, it should be okay. If it's just the weight on the knee, I would put a pillow under you. Put a pillow underneath that knee, some sort of foam pad underneath you.
All right, Dan, did you see this next question for hip lifts? Yeah. Okay, you got it?
Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
Okay. I'm going to read it for Wendy. For hip lifts, I've always struggled with those, painful and very difficult, but it was better with my legs elevated. Does that indicate muscle group or something that needs strengthening?
It's more legs up.
Sorry, for hip lifts. Maybe this was something that we should have asked at the end. I'm sorry, because you're in the middle.
Okay. We'll definitely circle back to that one.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we could circle work. We'll circle back to that. So let's pair this with the dead bug, Wendy. So we're gonna go onto our back with this on. We're gonna work on a core exercise here. We're gonna work on the dead bug. So we're gonna work on just the legs for now. We're gonna work on the leg extension. So our legs should be about 90-90. So as you're setting up for this one, like Wendy was doing in the glute bridge set, I want to work on tucking the pelvis. Wendy, just make sure you do a few reps just to show this.
Yeah, so not arched, but down, hips down to the ground, like your back is stuck to the mat or whatever surface you're laying on. And try to make flat back even as you extend.
Exactly. So you might start this position with like a gap in your lower back, someone could be able to slide a hand underneath you. So just imagine that, just press your lower back into the floor, feel that engage. You're gonna feel your core engage like that, and just go to the point where you're maintaining that. So don't lose that. So don't reach too far with the foot and lose that position with your lower back. And so the breathing with this movement.
I'm going far down, but as Dan is saying, you don't, in order to keep your back flat, you can just go halfway. You don't have to go all the way down, as long as your back is staying flat, pressed on the ground.
Exactly.
So another way, if this feels too easy, you can switch, obviously do the other leg. But another way to do this is to have the arms up, but sometimes people feel their heart is increasing with their arms up elevated. So that's why we modified to keep the arms down. But you can also keep the arms up, and you're going to do opposite arm, opposite leg. Again, keeping the back flat against. And if this is too much, then just do without the arms, the way we showed you the first time.
Exactly. Just focus on your lower back and maintain that. Awesome. Yep, so we're exhaling into these positions, bracing our core. Imagine yourself breathing through a straw. So we should be able to hear our exhales. Nice, slow, controlled, maintaining our lower back into the floor.
As Dan said, we want to do 8 to 10 on each side. So even though he's counting, you can do your own counting. He's sort of basing this on time, 30 seconds, but whatever it takes to do 8 to 10. If you can't do 8 to 10, do 5. Do whatever is comfortable for you.
Okay. Cool. So those are going to be series 2. So a bird dog. If you're looking up the name, it's technically called quadruped kickback. And then we just did that with the dead bug. So we worked on a few of those different variations. So
Showed you, but because we're short on time, we're just going to go through to the next one.
So for the third series, we're going to work on alternating Supermans. So we're going to lay on our belly on the mat here, lay down on our belly. We're going to fully extend the legs and arms, and we're going to work on an alternating Superman. So we're going to raise one leg and one foot at the same time.
Again, if this is too uncomfortable to put your arms above your head, because I understand that can make your heart rate go up higher, you can always modify and keep your arms at the side and just raise the legs. But this is what it looks like with your arms above.
Awesome. So with this one, try not to overextend. Just go to that position where you're comfortable. You're not bending your lower back, compensating from your lower back, and maintaining that top position for 1 to 3 seconds, depending on how you feel.
And if your heart rate feels too high, you can just go ahead and just do the legs.
Mm-hmm. We could do them one at a time.
Yep.
Just do the opposite for me, Winnie. Like
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. So if you're doing single for this, we'll do the opposite arm, opposite leg. Awesome. So for this, about 10 to 12 reps each side, doing a good 1 to 3 second pause. Awesome. So we're going to pair that with a front plank from the knee. So you're going to work on a front plank.
Does anyone need a breath or
Yeah.
You're not going too fast?
Okay, cool. So we're gonna go from the knee. We're gonna do a front plank from the knee. So from this position, the shoulders staying packed. We're not shrugging up towards our neck. We're gonna work on, just like Wendy did, kind of tucking our pelvis. Not. We're gonna maintain.
Yeah, sorry, Dan.
And we're gonna maintain this position for about 20 to 30 seconds, depending how you feel here.
Like you can do more. You can go into a regular plank. But as Dan said, if that feels too taxing, you just come down to your knee. And remember, no arch, not too low, just right and neutral, kind of tucking it in. So you really should feel this in your core.
Exactly. Do about 4 to 5 second exhales, really try and activate everything like we were doing the diaphragmatic breathing. Try and feel the belly breathing.
Again, if you want to push yourself, if you feel like you can, go ahead and just go full plank.
And we're keeping shoulders packed, not shrugging up towards our neck. Pelvis is tucked. And
As long as it feels comfortable. That's full body, and it can get your heart rate up.
absolutely.
That's for me.
Great. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to go ahead and that was it. That was the last one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we only have had one question that has come in. So this will give everyone an opportunity to think about their questions for Dan and for Wendy. But that was taking you back to the hip lifts. I've always struggled with those, painful and very difficult, but it was better with my legs elevated. Does that indicate muscle group or something that needs strengthening?
A lot of the times, people lack strength in the hips and literally the hip extension pattern. A lot of times people are quad dominant, so they like to fire their thighs a lot, and we lack the strength in our hips. So doing the glute bridges opposed to like a squat, this will help strengthen that and make you more comfortable over the long term.
The answer to the question?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I was on mute. What did you say, Wendy?
Oh, did that answer it?
Oh, yep. Katie says thanks. Yes.
Oh, Katie, yeah. Yeah, I struggled a lot when Dan and I first started working together with hip stuff. Like it took a long time to get them stabilized. And it was often hard for me to do any kind of bridge up without hyper extending and into my back. Like the hips were always really unstable for me. So these exercises have significantly improved all of those like movements.
And making sure that your pelvis is set before each rep, like Wendy has done, is that will just prepare you for the movement and make sure you're focused through it. And
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of you know this already, but you know, the stronger you are in your legs and your major muscles, in your quads, and from your core all the way down, the tighter and the stronger and firmer your muscles are, the less work your body has to work to pump the blood back up to our heart and our head. So the more deconditioned we are in these major muscles, you know, the blood is going to pool a lot easier. So that's why we focus a lot on, you know, these major muscles and even the calves as well, because as you know, all the blood is like pooling down to our feet. So the blood pooling starts literally from the middle of our stomach all the way down to our legs. One tip I want to give people, and you know, I've talked to a lot of people with POTS and helping them, you know, figure out ways to help to manage it. And wearing compression is so hard, especially I think a lot of you know that wearing compression socks and tights and all that. I mean, just getting them on is like such a trial to even get them on. You're exhausted after trying to even get them on. So what I do is I just buy regular leggings, and I buy a size or 2 sizes smaller than I would normally wear, and that would give you a lot of compression. So you can still, this is my outfit for the day. So you don't really feel like you have to be tied to those, medical kind of compression. So a size smaller, two or even 2 sizes smaller will give you that compression, and make sure they're high waisted so they come up above your belly button to really compress in the stomach as well. It helps tremendously.
Great. And I know a couple times you guys both have mentioned hydration and breathing. So I think those are 2 great things to just remind everyone, and the importance of both of those. So Dan, you touched base on breathing in the beginning, and you did as well with the hydration, Wendy. So.
And a tip for hydration is, when I first started, I didn't understand sort of the ratio of salt and how much fluid and what I should be drinking. And so it was just water. And I realized, I think a lot of like, of course it's good to drink a lot of water, but what happens is we deplete ourselves of all of our sodium and our electrolytes when we do that. Even if you're taking salt tabs or anything to help supplement your sodium intake. So I got a little creative, and what I do, and Dan knows this too, is so I do half water and half cold pressed watermelon, which gives you a lot of electrolytes, a lot of potassium. You can even add, some salt to it, whatever you feel comfortable. The watermelon water comes in different flavors. There's no added, sugars or any of the sucrose. It's just watermelon water. You could do the same thing, coconut water, add a little salt to it if you need the extra salt. You could get fancier and you can even do a seltzer, like a spritzer, and add, lemon and lime and a little bit of salt in there too, or any kind of fruit flavoring, but just make sure it doesn't have all those like added sugars and sucrose and glucose and stuff for you. Because as we know, maintaining our blood sugar is really, really important so that we don't dip and crash. So
Great. That's great advice. I love that. Thank you, Wendy.
Of course.
Amanda just wants to say this was very well paced, and that she's going to work on strengthening her hips. And she definitely will be utilizing these new exercises.
They work.
Valentina has a question. Does breathing out through the mouth make a huge difference? I'd rather not to, as I have dry mouth, but could do it if it was really important.
The breathing will help facilitate the core activation. So if you don't have to do it every single rep, but just imagine yourself breathing through a straw. You should just start to feel everything activate in your core.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that Dan's making, because when you breathe, if you're just in this position, you breathe through your mouth, you're going to notice that your core is tightening, whether it's like without using the body effort to tighten, just that natural breath tightens the core. You could even do it when you're not exercising. If you're just, sitting and doing, working on a computer, watching a movie, whatever you're doing, it just naturally will tighten up that core. And as I mentioned, the core is just as important for conditioning as the major muscles in our legs for lack of blood pooling down. People forget about the core. I didn't really know about the core either, but it's so important.
Very helpful information. Any other questions? You guys have great questions. I love it.
Yes, you do. We love hearing your questions. So anything, feel free. Any questions in general about POTS or, for me personally, I'll say that I work with Dan 3 days a week doing these exercises. I'm a little more advanced just because I've been, doing this for so many years, but on the off days, I don't do this every day because obviously we know we don't want to push ourselves to the point where we're exhausted and we've, overtaxed our autonomic system. So on the off days, if you're able to walk, just do however as much as you can do, but just keep moving on the off days a little bit, even if it's 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk, whatever you feel like you can do. If you have a treadmill, it's starting to get nice outside. If you can just do a little bit of walking, obviously they recommend the recumbent bike and the rower, but if you don't have those things, that's okay. We know the gyms are closed and everything right now, but just some movement on off days where you're not doing any conditioning, core and body strength work is so incredibly helpful. you can help actually retrain your autonomic system as you're doing more standing exercises like walking. But again, a little bit at a time, very slow, pace yourself. I always tell people with POTS, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's good advice. Excellent advice. I haven't seen any other questions come through, so I do want to, real quickly, I want to share Dan's contact information with all of you. So give me a second. Dan was part of me doing this before, so I'm going to do my best because it's not my computer. There we go. So we would like to thank Dan for his time today. He does have upcoming sessions. The part 2 of this series and part 3 the part 2 will be on May 15th and part 3 is on May 22nd. They will both be held at 11 a.m. same time. You do need to register for these through the events page, Dysautonomia International Facebook events page. Please check out all of our other events. There's a lot of fun things coming up. And below that little blurb is Dan's contact information. I can leave that up on the screen if you like.
You have to take a picture of it. And of course, you can always reach out to me. I can send you his information as well. But I will tell you, like, I've worked with other trainers before, and Dan is really the only one that understands POTS and works with you and at your pace. He'll just completely go off of you.
Okay, and since I'm sharing my screen, I can't see the chat feature anymore. So Dan, if you can see any other questions, or Wendy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pulling it up now.
Okay.
I think we're good as of now, but
Yep.
if I could talk through a few different things. So with those strength exercises, make sure you are listening to your body. Don't push it too much in one day, because you're going to adjust like the next following days. So do it a few times, let your body accommodate, and then gradually do it. Make sure you're not trying to incrementally push yourself all in one session. So and you could do those exercises 2 or 3 days a week. Like when you said, pair it with walking, just to help recover a bit. And
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone. For anyone who is a mom, happy Mother's Day. Please be sure to reach out to your moms and wish them happy Mother's Day on Sunday. It's great to see you all and join us today. Looking forward to seeing you at Dan's next session on the 15th, if not sooner.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Dan. Take care, you guys. Bye.